We're live.
We are live.
Once again.
We're live.
Can you believe a whole week has gone by?
Super fast like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Time is speeding up. There's something to that. What would they call it? The quickening or something?
I don't know. Maybe it has everything to do with your age.
Well, it could be that too. It could be that too.
Oh.
Let's see. Luis Lopez. What's happening, man? So what's new and exciting in your world, man?
Well, I just turned over that 455 that we rattled the show off with last week.
Good sounding motor. I see the motor stand is empty.
Yeah, and hauled it to North Carolina. And I tell you what, it was no fun task. My truck broke down on the way back. It's a fuel injected Ford, right? And I like that's the newest I go is like the Ford EFI from the 80s.
Okay. E4.
Yeah. That's exactly what it. Matter of fact, it's a 94 Ford truck that I put a 93 Cobra computer and harness on.
Okay.
Right. I got about halfway back, and right after I get past the Appalachian Mountains coming back, the TPS breaks in half on the thing. I've never had that ever as a problem.
That.
And it locked the throttle on the sucker.
Really?
On the cruise control, it locked it wide open.
No fun.
And I had to shut the truck off and go to the next exit. And I opened the hood and I saw the thing in like two different pieces. And I'm thinking, how the hell am I going to get home now? Right? It's not like I got a TPS hanging.
Who has a TPS? Well, I mean, I'm sure some people travel with a TPS in their pocket.
Yeah. But I cobbled together a bunch of stuff with the leftover resistor and stuff just so I could like get down the road. Right. And I ended up going to 3 towns and none of them had a TPS in stock because the truck's already getting so old.
Right.
So hey, you got any salvage yards? Yeah, but they closed 20 minutes ago. I drove all the way back. No TPS.
Wide open throttle?
No. I took the TPS off and I took the internals out of it. All it is a variable resistor, right? On a spring. So I took it all apart and I wound it together to where it would read something.
There you go.
And I made it home.
Well, if you leave it unplugged, the computer should.
I tried that. It was detonating so bad it wasn't hard to get down the road.
You probably got another sensor that's out there.
It could be. I don't know.
Because you should be able to just leave that unplugged and it'll find other inputs.
The limp home mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. And normally I've had those in the past get home fine.
Wait, we have all these people. We need to.
Acknowledge them.
All of them. Doug Nard, Unfinished Project, Plain Z, Million Mile Garage. What's happening? James Wilhite. What's happening? Michael Larson. You're my Roadrunner 440. I can't. Oh God, I can't read already. I already just started this and I can't read.
Man, that made things worse.
Ultra Kathy's not here tonight. Ultra Kathy's back at the house.
Oh.
John Trudell. What's happening? Paul Capizzola. Ryan S. You and your uncle just got a beautiful 71 Polaro with a 3-3. Congratulations. Good luck with that. Those are great cars. James Kaiser, what's happening?
Is the Polaro the same body style as the Fury? It's the big full-size car, right?
Yeah.
Like the C-body, is that what they are?
C-body.
It was a good-looking car in early years.
I hope there's 72, 71, 72, I think it is. It's even a 73. They just have really intimidating noses and stuff. And the taillights, beautiful, like Delta, long taillights.
Yep. That's what made me fall in love with the Buicks was the 65 Skylark has that one big long taillight all the way across.
Muscle City Madness says howdy. Mopar Mark, what's happening? James Robinson, unplug oxygen sensor. The computer will go to open loop.
Okay. Well, I could have done that, I guess.
Anthony Smiley, Jason Fitch, George Bonnie, Kevin is here too. See, it says so. Cole Kruger is buying a pulled engine. You've only seen run a bit on video. Going to spin it a bit, check plugs, pull valve cover, do leak down test. Worth pulling pants to check bearings. Anything else?
I wonder if he's got the ability to start it up without being in the car. It's not that big of a deal. Smell the oil.
He's seen it running on video.
Yeah, I'd prime it, and if it wasn't hammering on the video, I'd prime it, and fire it off. I'd put it in the car.
Troy, what's happening? Yeah, just fire it on the floor if you can.
That's the best thing to do is fire it outside the car. And if it's got good oil pressure.
Let's see, Troy, Sal Dada, Ocean Adventures is a real content provider.
Oh.
Deborah Welliver. I don't know. I hope not. Hi, guys. Shout out in Wichita. How's it going?
How's it going in Wichita?
The Great Plains. Mark Ebert, 8 3/4 wine at speed, bearings or gear. Wine.
Probably the gear set is off.
How does it get louder on deceleration?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Because then the pinion would.
Pinion bearing. Doug Norton, I seen a documentary on a Chrysler turbine program, and one of the turbine test mules was Bottle Rocket, one leg carrying. Yeah, they ran all sorts of things like that.
I didn't know they did something that new. I thought it was all the early Chrysler.
They played with that like right up to like 1980 or so.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Old timer F7. UTG is becoming Chrysler specific. Got to add some more Ford GM to keep things moving. Just an opinion. Brother man, you are so right. You're right. I agree with you. I agree with you. It's always on my mind. I unfortunately only have so much stuff at my disposal right now. But yeah, I'm on the hunt for Chevy, Ford, Pontiac, Oldsmobile. I mean, I'm on the hunt for everything right now.
Well, let me tell you, I told a guy today at Napa about you.
Oh yeah.
He pulled up about a 1947 Nash.
Oh nice.
Right. Pulls it to at the Napa there in Murfreesboro, right? The Florida Brothers.
Yeah.
Oh, it was running rough. And I said, hey, sounds a bit rough. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm just stopping in here. I need to find somebody that knows how to do a tune-up on. I said, hey, I know the guy, right?
We could do a video on that. That'd be
great.
Well,
and it was actually kind of cool because that early would be a flathead Nash, right? Be a 6-cylinder flathead Nash. And I thought, well, hey, that's cool. And he said, well, anyway, he goes, this isn't going to help your Mopar cause at all. But he said, well, the I'm really working on is the one I'm really interested in is a 41 Plymouth. Right. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool too. Right.
I'd like to see the Nash.
The Nash was cool. It was gold and it had the big fat wide whites on it.
Did you see, I don't want to get too far away from these guys, but they might enjoy it too. Have you seen a regular car reviews? You know the channel Regular Car Reviews?
No.
They did a thing on the history of the AMC.
Mm-hmm.
They posted it like yesterday or the day before. It's like 2.5 hours long. Okay. Listen to me. I watched this thing. I was riveted to it. Like it was phenomenal. Regular Car Reviews, history of the AMC. They just posted it a couple of days ago. Put that on your watch list. It was fantastic.
Huh, I'll have to check it out. So they go through the whole history of it, where they were merged together. I don't even remember.
Oh, he goes back to like 1890 something, and it's like, oh yeah, because the roots of all of the different companies that and the people that were involved in it. He goes right from like the beginning of the automobile all the way through. It was epic. It was epic.
Huh?
Yeah. I mean, it had a little bit of everything in there. It had the early Car Wars. It had the sinking of the Lusitania. It had like everything, and he ties it all together into the history of the AMC.
And that's how AMC began.
What a great piece of work.
That's cool.
Let's see. Billy Bufford, LS Swap 64 Rambler Rumbler is in the 7s on the 8th mile. Nice.
Yeah, this guy down here, Ryan S. says, AMC is Mopar's weird step nephew in my eyes.
AMC is everybody's weird step nephew.
Oh, man, I tell you what, I saw, there was an AMC at the machine shop, a whole motor, right? I believe it was probably 390, I think was what the guy said. But it had an HEI distributor on it.
Okay. And
I sat there for 20 minutes like, what the hell is that? Because, it's got to be a GM with that HEI in there. And I mean, I looked at it, and God, I swear it looks like a Mopar. And
yeah, the distributor's facing the wrong way.
Well, and I could not. Man, maybe that's a Cadillac, but it's an awfully short deck height for the Cadillac. And finally, I had to ask him, like, what the hell is that with the HEI on? I said, oh, that's the AMC. Somebody put an HEI on. Like, oh, God, dang, I was hurting my brain with that thing.
Let's see.
This guy's Texas Mopar says, I got 2 Javelins. I got tired of explaining what they were every time I got gas.
Oh, we got to give a shout to our mods.
Yeah.
Zero, Fubar. I saw you guys.
Already up. Tonight. Yeah, they were on as soon as we were up.
Yeah, Ari, I don't know if John is here. But, yeah. Let's see. BH635. The Roadkill guys have challenged you on the reverse piston thing. Maybe that's old news, not sure. Yeah, that was a while ago. Let's see.
I'm kind of wondering what they want for a challenge. I guess, Roadkill guys, since you initiated the challenge, wouldn't it be like fair to say?
I didn't initiate any challenge.
No, they did.
Oh,
Right? Like they initiated the challenge. Shouldn't they throw us a budget and then we compare two motors that are exactly the same? Order all the parts exactly the same, put them together.
I mean, I'm game for anything as long as somebody's paying for it.
That's what I'm saying. Those guys, they cough up the money. They initiated the challenge. Can't be too expensive for a couple 318 Mopars.
The bottom line is, I didn't make this up. Smokey Unick was doing it with Hudson 6s in the 1950s. The Chrysler, the Direct Connection Performance book says specifically, reverse the pistons, turn them around in the bores. I didn't make this stuff up. Other people long before me made it up. I've done it.
I'm sure
since.
it was the engineering types that made it up.
Yes, very, very smart people made that up. People smarter than myself.
Well, Harrison Hamilton says, you guys are the best. Getting ready. Oh, crap. Getting ready to rebuild my small block Chevrolet 350. Thanks for all the great content. No problem. They wanted to show the difference as measurable on a dyno. Yeah, I know that. I actually saw that clip. And I told Tony about it, and he was like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, okay, well, I think it would be kind of cool is if we did it not on the dyno, but yet at the drag strip, right? If you had two exactly the same motors, you could swap them in the same car, same day, do some passes, or you had two identically the same cars, same weight.
It don't work.
No.
You could build two engines, and I know this from experience. Huh? You could build two engines that are as identical as human hands can make them. And they'll have two completely different personalities.
Yeah, one of them has casting flash or
whatever it
core
happens
separation.
To be, there's always going to be a difference. The only way to do it is the same engine, same day.
Swap the pistons.
Yeah,
oh, that'd be like the hardest thing to do. One day. I mean, I'm sure it could be done.
I used to do it in an hour.
Pull the whole motor out and swap the pistons, or just swap the pistons.
Racing show cars. We rebuilt the whole damn thing in an hour.
Right, but you also had tools specifically for that with a chassis designed to pull the whole motor apart without taking out the car.
That's true. Charles Manson says, I just spent 10 minutes waiting for your other live stream to start. I'm so sorry about that.
Your other live stream? You cheating on me? You got your side live streams?
Fubar just put up the link to AHRAonline.com, which is Dallas. He's the American Hot Rod Association, Rod Association. So go over there and join.
Yeah, we have memberships ranging all the way from a fan-based membership at $35 per year, all the way to the full-fledged lifetime if you want.
Give Dallas your money. He needs it.
Or you can nail our merchandise on eBay under AHRA Official.
Unity Motorsports Garage, Andy is on. What's going on, brother man? How are you?
We got a Buick Performance Support channel.
Oh, what's going on, Buick Performance Support channel?
I wonder if that's Eric Albino.
Oh, it's Ultra Kathy. She just deleted it. I don't know what she deleted. Let's see. Greg McDonald says YouTube is really screwing me. Even Vice Grip Garage is flashing on and off. Oh, is he live now? Say hi to Derek for me. Lee James. Thank you, sir.
And John Wilburn is here.
Hey, Tony, I got a Chevy question. 409 to 396. Have a chance to get one or the other. There's nothing wrong with a 409 other than like they're weird, and it's you got an orphan situation,
It depends on the car. If he's got like a 62 or 63 Impala, 409 all day long.
I doubt that he's got a car that's because that wouldn't even be a question. That wouldn't even be a question, right? It's probably just he wants to build a big block Chevy and he's got a chance to be a 409 and I happen to love 409s. I have a bug for them, but they're orphan engines. You know what I'm saying? If you're building it if you're not building it for a specific, she's real fine. My 62 bubble top Bel Air. Oh, I love those cars.
I know.
I love those cars. Go with the 26.
Did I tell you that right now on Marketplace?
Hey, Olive.
There's a 62 Oldsmobile Starfire bubble top for sale, and it's like $2,500. Come get it. No motor, no tranny.
Is it a Starfire or a Jetfire?
Whatever is the full size.
There was a Jetfire on Marketplace.
Is it red,
recently.
maroon, and white? I thought it was a Starfire. This one.
No, it was a just 62 Jetfire.
Whatever's the full size one. But oh my god, it was sexy as hell.
I like YouTube. Have you seen Davin's video about mismatched heads that he wants help with? And a few people suggested you. I haven't seen it. Somebody mentioned that, and I went to the Haggerty site, and I watched a video about him putting a cross member and a transmission mount, and I even left a comment about the transmission mount because he's using the type of transmission mount that is supposed to be captured in the cross member, and he's got it just mounted on a flat plate, and I suggested that he box it in. But I didn't see that. If you've got a contact for him, just tell him to get a hold. Uncle Tony, if you've got a contact for Davin there, just tell him to send a message to UncleTony'sGarage@gmail.com, and I'll help him any way that I can. I actually enjoy that channel a lot.
Zero saying there's a '69 Buick wagon for sale over his way.
Ooh, go buy it.
Is that a sport wagon? If it's a
wood.
sport wagon, I so want it. I don't want a LeSabre wagon, but I want a sport wagon.
Jetstar.
Jetstar, that's the full size one.
It's the turbocharged one.
No, this one
that's a Jetfire.
This one's a Starfire. I thought I think it's a Starfire. It's a full size car.
Troy Ray. Troy Ray's a good friend of mine. He's got a funny car. How's it going, Troy? We got to get together and do something on the channel, you and I. Michael Logston, what size vapor return line or hour are you running on your Roadrunner? I don't have a vapor return line on either of my Roadrunners. I have one on my Swinger, and it's 1/4 inch. This Sledgehammer 801, your Gambler project is so sweet. I have been welding my ass off for the last, I don't know, it's all like a blur now. Like the last 2 or 3 days, I got the firewall built out. I got the transmission tunnel just about done. You could take the 6 rolls of welding wire so far. 6 rolls of welding wire in the last 2 days. You can run a bead from here to my shop.
I'm sure.
You know?
Yeah, that's like 27 miles, right? So I can attest to it. I saw him today welding on it. So
Troy's getting Troy, I didn't know you had a top fueler. Getting ready for Bowling Green. I didn't even know they were going to have a race at Bowling Green. So there's 2 things I didn't know about. See, I didn't know you had a top fueler, and I didn't know they had a race at Bowling Green. It shows you how far completely out of the loop I've become.
Eric Albino's on there. That's my plan. That's why I sent you in Messenger. I figured you'd hit me up on Messenger.
Jason's Garage says he got sunburned from welding this weekend. Bro, I'm using flux core because I like flux core, right? I don't like running out of freaking gas and stuff. And my whole body is just covered with the flux core spatter. My whole head to toe. Troy Ray, call more often. You could call me sometimes, you know.
He says maybe you should be Ultra Tony. What's the Ultra deal? What's going on with that? Uncle Kathy's now evolved to Ultra Kathy.
Oh yeah, exactly. She's gone to the next level.
She's leveled up.
Ultra Kathy. I mean, if you guys knew all of the stuff that he does, she does. You know, she has earned the name Ultra Kathy. Uncle Crystal is still Uncle Crystal though.
Yeah. How's her office coming along? Has she moved in there yet?
Yeah, she's working on it.
So this weekend though is your meet and greet, right?
Yes.
And you know it's I saw. Is it Saturday?
Yeah, 17th.
We got a 30% chance.
That's okay. We have it inside.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about what kind of meat are you bringing?
I'm not even sure yet.
I'm gonna bring Korean short ribs. You ever had the short ribs cut?
I've
not long ways, but across.
Yeah.
Oh God, amazing.
Well, the grills will be going. Anybody's coming to the meetup on the 17th at the shop. Bring meat. Bring meat. That's the whole thing. It's a meetup. MEAT up. You know, bring something different, and you know, we all. It's like a feast. We all get together and feast.
Well, Troy Ray saying, what time is the meet and greet?
We start at 12, Troy, and we'll go until whenever. into the evening. There's no. That's why we wanted to do it on a Saturday instead of a Sunday, because this way nobody has to go to work the next day.
So you have a day at least to stay in a hotel in Murfreesboro and then drive home.
Keith Widman says he has a sifter we call Uncle Sherry. James Robinson, where's the meet and greet? It's at my new shop. 10710. Is that it?
Yeah, Highway 96, or is it?
Yeah, Franklin Road, Highway 96, Murfreesboro, Tennessee, 37128. Mopar Mark, Tony, is the events on the 17th going to be live or no? I'm sure people are going to be live streaming.
Is Roadkill acceptable?
yeah. If you want it, bro, if you want to throw it on a grill and cook it, I'm sure
you just got to eat it. That's all.
See, I did get the address right. 10710. I got it.
Oh, and it's Franklin Road. It really is.
Yeah.
I thought it was Highway 96.
It is Highway 96. It's also known as Franklin Road.
Oh, I figured once I got past that Walmart, then went back down to the two-laner, it started becoming Highway 96 again. But I don't know crap. Gosh, the roads around here, it's so hard to figure out what's road is what anymore. See, Ultra Kathy's got you covered.
Oh, it's Andy 347495 again. How you doing, man? We got to do a live stream just for you. I talked to you last week about a 49 big block Chevy being lean and having a small fuel pump. I put a fuel pressure gauge on it while driving. Fuel pressure drops to zero almost immediately, 2,800 RPM. Well, that will make it lean, won't it?
Yeah.
You were saying you've only got a 20-gallon-per-hour pump on there. Why do I remember that? On top of everything else that's on my head, I remember his 20-gallon-per-hour pump.
He hit us up probably about 10 times, right? About the same thing. And it was like, and I kept telling him, get the big block mechanical, right? And then he was like, it's a Gen 5 with no provision.
Here's a serious question from my man Troy, okay? All right. When's AHRE going to run fuel cars?
Oh, man. I tell you what, that is a serious question. So last year, if it hadn't been COVID-19, the plan was this year we were going to introduce a class that we called Top Comp. Top Comp. All right. And to get without getting way off a topic, we have a class already called Econo Comp. Econo Comp is kind of very similar to what the class was Pro Comp that everybody loved in NHRA, and it got absorbed into about 5 different classes, and it sucked from that point forward. So we created Econo Comp to bring the guys back to that same kind of format. So it's altereds, funny cars, dragsters, roadsters, side and center steer, all run one class, weight to cubic inch. This year we're going to come out with Top Comp class, and Top Comp was going to have the same kind of format, except for it was going to be blown alcohol, nitrous oxide on alcohol, turbocharger on alcohol, or you could run a naturally aspirated nitro combo.
He wants to know top fuel.
Top fuel, that I have no idea. I'd love to go tomorrow, but let me tell you, I got no sponsors for any of this stuff. It's impossible to find sponsors these days. The sponsors I got are mainly the people that you see here on this page that buy membership or decals or stuff like that. So I appreciate everybody buying whatever they buy, but top fuel, that is way beyond my grasp at this point. Right after I hold up a bank, I guess.
You see, Troy, we talked with, how long ago was it? 30 years ago? Bro, it was 30 years ago. I told you, I says, take the fuel motor and stick it in a door slammer and go just out. And look what's going on right now, right? The whole Street Outlaws thing, right? 30 years ago, we were talking about a blown fuel motor in a door slammer. Jason John Santer, if you answer my question, I'll buy something.
What's your question? And Troy said, maybe hook up with Chris Graves from Funny Car Chaos. I don't know. For some reason, Chris doesn't like me. He didn't like me from the day one when we first started. Bashed me when I first started. I don't know why. I really don't know why. I've never even met the guy.
Joe Bowles, where can I buy merch or support AHRA? At ahraonline.com.
Or you can buy our merch.
Or you can go buy our merch
on eBay.
On eBay.
Yeah, we're under the name AHRA Official. If you search American Hot Rod Association, it should be only our stuff that comes up. There will be, leftover stuff from did you ever look on for any of that historical stuff? Did you ever see those Fleer cards?
Sure.
The drag racing cards? God, man, they are some awesome shots. Unbelievable.
Troy is looking for a 67 through 69 fastback Cuda body to put the fuel motor in.
Oh.
I'll keep my eyes open.
It was my first car.
Troy says he's always been a fan of AHRE. Let's build it back.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's exactly what I want to do. That's exactly what we are
Why
doing.
don't you guys get together? Why don't you get together, Troy? Why don't you cultivate a fuel program along with the stuff that Dallas has already got going on?
And I'm open to that. Troy, hit me up. My email address is dallas@ahraonline.com.
Gideon Wallace, what are the hours of operation at your location? I really don't have any specific hours. I get there early in the morning. I work until I don't feel like working anymore. Then I go eat, and then I take a siesta, and then I go back and I work some more. So,
oh, really?
There's no real.
You double down every day?
Sure.
Oh, I never even thought about doing that. I usually just work till I catch up.
Troy Ray says he'll help in any way. Why don't you exchange numbers? How does Troy get a hold of you?
I just shot him. I just told him my email address on
okay.
There. Yeah, okay. dallas@ahraonline.com.
Buick support channel. Don't you have to pay the top fuel guys? Generally speaking, yeah, you got to pay the top fuel guys. But the top fuel guys are actually what bring people in.
Yeah, last year they were almost running for free, so I guess I probably should have thrown just a couple dollars more as payout. I probably could have had a top fuel program the next day.
That's the thing about nitro. That's the thing about nitro. You don't have to have a name. You don't have to have. Doesn't have to be a big show. It doesn't have to be anything crazy.
Just nitro.
Just nitro, and
right.
People will come. They'll fill the stands.
That was the idea about this Top Comp class. Top Comp. I took it's essentially just a page out of the playbook,
right,
from Lions Drag Strip 1970 when they used to run the junior fuel class. And junior fuel all got rolled into Pro Comp, right? And all I did was break Pro Comp up into two separate classes. And but they're tiered. The reason why I did that is I felt it was necessary. So AHRA is for the low buck sportsman guy, right? Because anybody can heads up race. There's no reason you can't. The only reason that we can is because the rules for the classes today are absurd, unobtainium for the regular guy. So if you create a class for the regular guy, it's going to be fun again. It's that simple. So what I did was I created a bare bones class, which was the EconoComp class. The idea behind it was if you decided you want to step up to the next level class, which is Top Comp, all you'd have to do is take the motor out, sell your combo, put another motor in, or you just throw a power adder on the motor that you got.
Well, that's all fine, and it's good for the racer, but that doesn't put anybody in the stands because nobody really understands what that is. If you want to put people in the stands, you have to hit them with words that they recognize.
Yeah, nitro. Top fuel, nitro.
Right, top fuel, nitro, funny car, right? But if you show them an alcohol car, if you bring them in, if you let's say you advertise funny cars, okay, and you advertise because I've seen this happen time and time again, right? If you advertise funny car, and when the fans get there, all you have is alcohol cars.
Yeah,
you will have pissed off people. Yeah, they will never come back.
And I'm the same. I believe that because I feel the same way about it.
I've seen it happen time and time again. Troy Ray says he emailed you.
Okay.
Let's see. Where are we at? James May. Let's see.
Loba GTX is saying my Argentinian 70 Dodge GTX 318.
You must see your guys. Yeah, well, yeah. Anybody's interested in that, go check out his channel.
Well, didn't you do a channel one night you did live stream one night where everybody showed their cars, right?
Yeah. And John Wilburn put it up. He put a whole thing together with a montage of all the viewers' cars. It was great. It's on John Wilburn's channel.
Yeah, well, maybe it's time for another one again.
Creekside Garage, still doing the Henry for Kiwi. Kiwi's car is on hold. Kiwi's slammed. The car is outside. He hasn't touched it since October, and I've got his motor on the stand. So as soon as he's ready to go with that car again, I'll dive back on the motor.
Who's saying Charles Manson, Uncle Tony's Garage? For the love of God, please answer this poor man's question.
Okay, whose question? Give me the question.
Is it this one about the 451?
I don't know. I don't know.
Is it worth building a 451 if you already have a 440? This is for an e-body. Yeah, man, it depends what you want to go for. If you already have a good run of 440, why?
I'm looking to see. Lazzy Titan. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm looking for this question.
Whose question are we supposed to answer?
Jake, and for the love of God, you better get that question typed up again.
I don't know. 455 Buick versus 420.
Jake and Johnston's EGR question. Yeah, but I missed it. I don't know what it is. Jake, and give me that question again, man. I'm so sorry. These things scroll by and then we get into conversation and shit like that, and it's hard to pay attention to everything at the same time. Okay, there he is. James, that's what I thought. Oh, no. James, that's what I thought. I was told the AMC 360 is tuned for EGR, so plugged EGR can cause pinging. No.
There it is. Is
Okay,
that it there?
AMC 360, Motorcraft 2152 barrel. EGR has been dead since I bought it, so I plugged the hoses due to stalling. However, engine pings. Can a bad EGR or plugged EGR cause pinging? I have to use 93 octane gas. Okay, so Jakin, a plugged EGR valve, one that is not functioning, cannot cause pinging. It's impossible. A burnt or a stuck open EGR valve can possibly cause pinging, because what you're doing is it's an unregulated flow of exhaust gas into the intake stream. So it just depends on how it's damaged. If it's just disconnected, it cannot cause a ping. But if it's stuck open or burned, it can cause a ping.
And that's because as it's opened up, like normally it's regulated by vacuum.
Right.
So when you have high vacuum situation, which means you're not on the throttle, it's got that EGR valve pulled open and it's funneling exhaust gases back into the motor. But the second you stand on that sucker and your vacuum goes to zero, that gauge or that EGR valve slams shut, right? Until your engine builds vacuum again. And when it's wide open throttle and that thing is open, funneling EGR in there, it will cause pinging.
So, Jake, my pleasure, man. I'm sorry I missed you the first time. Dooz's shop says EGR suppresses pinging. Dooza, could you explain that? Okay, wheels and tires. After your unibody vid, would you suggest adding any gusseting or torque boxes, etc., to a 69 slant six that would be getting a carb 5.7 with mild mods, looking at for 425-ish horsepower? Street cars, street tires? No. If you're going to be taking it to the track and you put a really sticky tire on the thing, you may want to consider a torque box. Not necessary, but not a bad idea.
So if somebody was wanting my 215 for free to put in their 240SX.
Say that again?
They were wanting to get my 215 for free so they could put in their 240SX. And that, I'm not going to throw it your way. I mean, if you want to come here and buy it, hey, have at it. I really need to sell it. And I'll throw in the one-speed dual-path Dynaflow with it. Somebody else was asking, do I have any Buick videos coming up and when are they going to be available? I don't have a channel. I'm too lazy to put together a channel. No, it's not that I'm lazy. I just don't have all my eggs are in another basket. I just don't have time for it.
I'll do the Buick stuff. Dallas needs to be a member of the Hell With Your Pit crew. Well, when we finally get to that, yes. Still got cash, and there's some of the logistics that need to be worked out before I can, think about that car, that project. Let's see. Lazzy Titan, best carb to run on a bone stock 225 to run interstate speed with. Well, I mean, if it's bone stock, you really only got. Forget about those later carburetors. I can't even think of the designation. The earlier carbs, either the Carter BBS or the Holly 1920. Either of those is good. I would say the Holly's probably more efficient on the highway. Probably.
Doug Narden's asking, will our Lemons car campaign this season? Doug, we're shooting for Road Atlanta December. That's the plan. I mean, the motor and training, we already got sitting in the car outside. We're actually, we were putting the seat in yesterday, and then it's going to be the cage after that. And then we're wiring it up. So we should have it running by, I'm thinking July, and we'll get all the bugs worked out. Hopefully it don't blow it up before we go to the event. But we should have all the bugs worked out, the suspension set, the chassis dialed in, and ready for Road Atlanta in December.
Andrew Blanchard, not sure what to set my timing at during idle on my 383 stroker, Pro Comp, everything sitting in an 84 G. Okay, never worry about what the initial timing is going to be. Worry about your total timing is going to be, and then wherever the initial ends up, well, that's what you live with, right? Or curve the distributor. But assuming you're not going to curve the distributor, assuming you're going to look for optimum timing, right? Set it for approximately 32, 34 degrees total, meaning that you've revved the engine up and all of the advances in, right? All the centrifugal advances are all in. So around 3,000 RPM or so, set your timing there and then see where it is at idle. Don't go the other way around. Don't. You see what I'm saying? Like the idle, the important thing is how much timing total. The engine has total under load. Your idle timing is a byproduct of that.
And then just kind of where you set it initially, and then hopefully your total timing is around that. But what you need is the curve should be coming in. Well, essentially, when you set the initial, right, I always set it around, it depends what I've had, but almost everything is usually around 10 to 12, right? Small block Ford, you can get away with a little bit more, like 302 Ford. I had up 13, 14. It
depends on the distributor. How much centrifugal advance is in the distributor?
Well, I was messing with the computer-controlled stuff on those.
Okay.
But what I found is when you set the initial, usually around 10 to 12, your curve should all be in fairly close to about 2,800 or less.
Yeah, but
right?
Now listen, but wait a second.
And then you're looking at total at the end. Give it some beans, rev it up 3,500, $3,000, whatever, and then check the total. And all of your advance with it in should be at a good set number for the heads. The heads is what dictates that. The compression ratio of the heads, the camshaft timing.
But the thing is, if you're doing it with a computer-controlled car, okay, so if you're doing it with the Ford, with the EQ4, okay, you got a knock sensor in there. So you can set it for 40 degrees.
It does not have a knock sensor in the Ford.
Sure it does.
No, they don't.
What year?
Any of the fuel-injected ones, EQ4s.
They don't have a knock sensor?
No, just O2 sensors.
That's right, the GM, the CCC has a knock sensor. Okay, you're right. Let's see. Lee James, so another question. Got my grandfather's old 75 F100 short wheelbase 302 C6 automatic. Seems like it needs a better rear end for highway use. What rear end would be good? Depends on your tire size. How tire diameter has a lot to do with it. Something in the low threes, like a 320 gear set is probably, the 320 gear set, like what, a 26, 27 inch tall tire is probably going to be your best highway for that particular.
And look at what he's got. Better rear end for highway uses. I'm assuming it's probably got like a 410 in it, right? And something like that. So he could, maybe a tow package on a 302 F100 is what I'm thinking.
Possibly. 75 wouldn't have a 410. 75 would have, oh God.
Well, it'd be the 9-inch Ford, so it'd be like a 390.
Yeah, 370s. I bet you it's got 370s in it, 373.
It probably is somewhere around there. And you know what? If it's got a 373, go find a 1-inch taller tire and see what that does first. Because that might make all the difference in the world for you.
Let's see. Alex Bernier, 1984 Camaro Berlinetta, bare bone stock, has a 5-liter V8 top, and is pretty carbon up around a valve spring and etc. Do you think it would be okay to drive? I mean,
Is it missing?
Is it missing? Yeah. Does it have compression? I mean, it'd probably be okay. Dexter Montgomery says most had 370s. See, told you. I even know stuff about Ford trucks. Buick Performance Support Channel. Tony, can you flip the pistons on another engine other than a Mopar? The earliest known application or the earliest known thing about flipping the pistons was Smokey Yunick. And he was doing it in the Hudson Straight 6s in the 1950s for the NASCAR racing. As far as I know, he's the guy that discovered that relationship between pin offset and rod geometry. And then later on, the Chrysler engineers adopted it. And like I said, if you look at any of the Chrysler performance books from the 1960s, 1970s, they all recommend flipping the pistons. It'll work on any engine that has a flat top. It won't work on, obviously, it won't work on a contoured dome piston because, that's not going to happen. A flat top piston. And if you notice, a lot of engines like Fords, the early Chevys, the 302s, the early Chevys, they all have two sets of piston eyebrows. They have valve reliefs. They have, and you flip them around, they've got it the other side too. I mean, why would they do that?
This question right here, SD says 1970 Buick GS 455 4-speed, completely stock with all original parts. Rust bucket requiring a total restoration. Seller wants $16,000. Worth saving? ? Also, opinion of the 455 Buick engine. Well, 70, if it was not a stage 1, came with the small oil feed pickup, right? So it was like 16ths. It being a GS 455 doesn't mean that it's that rare, because that's kind of like the middle of range when you came to option packages. Because you could have got a regular Skylark, then you had your Buick GS, then you had GS 455, then you had the stage 1, then you had the GSX, right? And then you had a GSX stage 1, right, if you want above all that. But $16,000 sounds awfully high to me. In my opinion, it should probably be around $4,500, $5,000.
Oh, but more than that, I would
think
say.
so? If it's a rust bucket,
the GS 455 4-speed, and it's complete. If it has,
they're not that rare.
It's not that rare, but it's definitely worth more than $4,500. If
it's a rust bucket, I'll bet you, because those A bodies were so bad, rust around the back windows, rust on the quarter panels.
I get that, but think about this for a second, okay? So let's say you've got the numbers matching drivetrain, okay, and you got all of the numbers, you got the vintage, you got all that shit.
It is a 4-speed, so that
you
makes
find
it
a donor body. You know what I mean? It's a $60,000 car, done, running, complete,
they're
nice.
Not that much.
You don't think so?
No, I know they're not that much. Even the stage 1s don't go for that kind of money. $60,000. Now, if it was a complete, like a concourse restoration,
right,
yeah, you could probably pull that off. Stage 1 category would probably be around $60,000. So that GS 455 might be about $45,000, $50,000. But you might have $45,000, $50,000 in trying to get the damn thing straightened out.
Well, it depends, right, on what he's got, what he's working with there. Tommy Two-Tone has a 72 Buick Skylark custom 4-door with a 5.7 350. Nice. That's a nice car, man.
We used to call them crew cabs. That's everybody hated 4-door, right? Don't forget stage 2. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the unobtainium option. Your trunk option came with the stage 2 heads and cam and Edelbrock intake manifold in the trunk, right? And the dealer put it on when you bought the car.
Doozer's Shop says, I built a 460 Ford once. I made a bad combo, RV cam and 10-to-1 compression. I had to run 94 octane and way retarded spark timing to get it to minimize ping. Added EGR back on and no ping. Yeah, you know what? It may be a quirk of your particular combination on that. I don't see that as being an across-the-board deal. Think about this. The EGR valve is introducing hot exhaust gas into the intake, and it's further leaning the mixture.
With
right?
no oxygen. Right?
With no oxygen. It's not adding any oxygen to the system. So how, by what means would that reduce pinging? If anything, it would increase pinging. Maybe on your particular setup, maybe it was an odd quirk of circumstances, it worked. I don't know exactly what was going on inside your motor, and I don't have a crystal ball. But it may have worked on that particular example, but across the board, no. It absolutely not. Fubar just posted the link to ahre.com again.
Oh, well, thank you, Fubar. He's all over it.
Fubar, all my guys.
So, Zero came up, and it was like the third person in was like, AHRA online. Oh, thanks. Oh, nice, folks. Keep it going. Where's everyone from? Let's see. Doozer Shop says it slows combustion. It might actually do that. With exhaust gas in there. See, the whole point of EGR was to reburn unburnt fuel.
Right. But you're not adding any extra oxygen. You're adding carbon.
I wonder if it's taking place of.
Okay, if you go back to when they introduced EGR valves in 1974, was it? Some makes were 1973, 1974. If you go back to when they introduced the EGR valve, one of the important things that they did was they retarded the timing on those cars, which is what made them so sluggish. People used to blame the EGR valve, but the tune on those cars, they retarded the timing to keep them from pinging with the EGR valve.
This guy here, Anthony, what does it say? Cardona. Just dragged a 69 GTO Ram Air 3 Muncie 4-speed with 12-bolt posi and 411 gears. I can't wait to keep it ratty and drive the wheels off of it.
Oh,
that's badass.
Wait, you want to talk about ratty? Oh, I got something for you guys. I got something for you guys. It was going to be a surprise, but the hell with it. I'm excited about this. Next Friday, not this Friday coming up, but the following Friday, I have a fellow from Kentucky who has a Survivor 1967 Hemi GTX 4-speed car. He just bought this thing, and it's ratty. It's ratty from one end to the other, but it's a total Survivor. So he's bringing it to the shop, not this coming Friday, but the following Friday, and we're going to go through that car bumper to bumper and get it up to speed running, so you can.
Oh, is he leaving it there?
Yeah.
Oh man, we should see if we can bring it down Friday because it could be there for your meet and greet on Saturday. Man, that would be badass. That's my favorite car though. That GTX, that roof line, that 67 roof line.
Gorgeous.
Oh,
they're gorgeous.
God,
so we're going
to
be doing a bumper to bumper with the owner. He's going to be doing the work. I'm going to be helping him. But we're going to do a bumper to bumper go through on that Hemi GTX. And it's like the last word in ratty muscle. When you see these guys, if you're into ratty muscle cars, when you see this thing, you're going to do backflips because it's the brass ring of ratty muscle cars.
The quintessential ratty muscle car, huh? Creme de la creme.
Yeah, we'll have it. It'll be in the shop for a few weeks, and we'll be shooting. You guys are you're gonna have Hemi GTX overload.
What do y'all recommend for a set of aftermarket small block Chevy heads on a friend's Camaro? World Products, Edelbrock, what? Street car, pump gas, nice cam, headers, aluminum intake. Well, I'm assuming since it's got a cam in it, headers, an aluminum intake, he's going for a little bit of performance here. So cylinder heads, it depends. It's all what's in your budget and what your goal is. But in reality, since it sounds like it's fairly just a warmed over small block, Chick-fil-A used to have a pretty cheap set of heads that were like 23-degree heads. I want to say they were $900 for the whole set.
I gotta jump in here with this because I'm seeing a lot of people saying about they're talking about the EGR valve and how all of the different ways that it would reduce the tendency to ping. Guys, you probably know more about this thing than I do. It was James May saying EGR actually lowers combustion temps. Uncle Tony, think about what you're saying. How can you lean a mixture without oxygen? James May, you are right. You are right. What I remember I remember some my experience with EGR valves has to do with just as a mechanic, right? The regular mechanic. I never modified a car with an EGR valve. I never worked with an EGR valve to try to get performance out of it. My thing was just disconnect it. You may be right. I'm going to look further into this. But I do remember very specifically when they introduced the EGR valves, all the timing specs on those cars were retarded. But you are right. You wouldn't be leaning the mixture if you're not adding oxygen. I would agree with that.
It would be, it's to reburn unburnt fuel.
Well, here, Ray, EGR is to reduce NOx by lower combustion temperature.
No. I don't know how it could actually lower combustion temperature. It can't possibly work that way, Tony. It can't possibly, right? Check it out. If you're reintroducing exhaust gas back into the motor as it's already burnt, and you're going back directly underneath the carburetor, because that's how these things work.
Yes.
Right? It's taking hot gas that's burnt fuel, right? It has no oxygen left. It's just some of it's burnt fuel, which is going to be carbon, right? CO2, right? Carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and then regular carbon, right? And then you have some unburnt gasoline in there, okay?
Okay.
But you're reintroducing it underneath the carburetor at exhaust temperature. So what's exhaust temperature? 1,500 degrees?
Yeah, but it's also
degrees?
being cooled in the intake charge. It's being mixed with the intake charge. So it's raising the temperature of the intake charge, but it's also being cooled by the fact that it's following that same path.
Well, it's coming in at a point where, let's say it's 1,200 degrees. Well, let's make it easy. Let's say it's 600 degrees,
right?
Okay? It's coming in directly below the carburetor where the Venturi effect is happening at the highest point. So at that point, it's coming in, the air-fuel mixture is having the temperature, like negative 20 degrees after the Venturi effect, because it cools
it's not that cool, but it's
not that cold. Yeah. But I mean, it's like, it'll drop the temperature pretty significant, right? So let's say it's coming out of there 500 degrees then, right? Because it's meeting 0 degrees and 600 degrees. We'll say it'll average out at 500 degrees. The actual cylinder temperature then is starting at 500 degrees, vice whatever ambient air temperature is minus the Venturi effect underneath the carburetor. And then engine operating temperature.
Yeah, but you're also hitting the back face of the intake valve, which is significantly heating the intake charge.
I know EGR works. I know it works. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think that EGR has a damn thing to do with pinging. And I don't think there's any possible way that it could actually just crush any pinging at all, except for diluting the air and fuel coming into the motor. That's all it's doing. And it may be worth it. It may be worth that's something that we do dyno test on.
I don't know. Like I said, it's not something I've ever really given any consideration to.
I mean, I've always taken them off, just throw them in the trash.
Right, exactly.
Block them off. I just don't.
Two-stroke. So we got a lot of people saying it does lower the combustion temperatures.
And the only thing I could see it doing that, how it could do that, is it's displacing fuel and air. But two hots never make a cold.
Now, Slappy Fistwide is saying the EGR heats the intake charge. That's just aerodynamics, which he's agreeing with you. Charles Manson says these pro-EGR guys are starting to change my mind. Same here, Charles. Same here. And Andrew Button says not something to give any consideration to other than the waste bin. Well, the reason I would give it consideration is because of this guy's situation where he built an engine. It wasn't the happiest combination, and the way he got it to calm down was by putting an EGR valve on it. Which initially, when he first talked about that, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Now, a lot of you guys are throwing stuff in there, and it's making me think about this.
I don't think it's logical. You can't start at 500 degrees and expect it to be cooler.
Well, we have two definite factions here, and I'm in the middle. You've got your faction, and you've got guys that are agreeing with you, and then you've got the other faction that's like pro EGR valve. And see, and I don't know. I'm right in the middle, and I'm getting input from both sides. I'm
pro EGR, and I'm pro at throwing them in the wastebasket and blocking them off because I've had nothing but headaches from the dang thing, and they don't do anything what they're supposed to. You can do so much more with a cap.
Mitten Made Muscle says he had too much compression for his heads. A bigger cam will bleed off compression and allow time to be put in without paying. David Clark says the purpose of the EGR was to reduce NOx emissions by reducing combustion temperatures.
So we got somebody saying, James May says you're adding pressure with an inert gas. Same cylinder pressure, less gas.
Well,
that's
wait,
not true because it's
not. You're not adding any pressure. It's getting metered into the plenum. The EGR port is directly under the carburetor,
and it's being sucked back in. There's no pressure going in. It's all vacuum. But he's saying inert gas, and it's not an inert gas because it's mixing with the air coming from the engine.
Yeah, but it itself is an inert gas.
No, because it's unburnt fuel. That's the whole idea. It was unburnt fuel. It was this was the chicken or the egg before the chicken, right? The EGR was the first attempt at reducing emissions. Then came the catalytic converters.
Oh,
right.
Wait. Ultra Kathy says to read Need Metal super chat. I got to go back and find the super chat. I didn't know Need Metal had one in there.
Did we get into discussion on that?
I don't know. I'm going back. I don't find it.
We either stirred up a hornet's nest or.
Oh man, there's a lot of EGR. Oh, okay. Nima, okay, this is for you. On your Buick motor, did you machine the bearing caps before putting those straps over them?
Oh, on my super stock motor. Yes, they actually have to be machined.
Yeah, it was the same thing on the Chryslers. You got to machine the caps flush, and there's supposed to be a 2,000ths crush on the Chryslers. It was a 2,000ths crush.
So, but thank you, sir. Sorry that we missed your super chat.
Okay. Troy, for the love of God, stop with the EGR nonsense.
Does anybody want to talk about the Hemi 6 from Australia? Does anybody, please?
Well, I want to talk about the EGR system on the Hemi 6 from Australia. I may have learned something from this super chat. From this live. I'm going to do some research. I'm going to do some research. You got me thinking.
This guy has. This is best. This EGR's talk is reaching lean burn level.
Good discussion, though.
It was. It's got me thinking. Like, man, I don't know how that. It's like the perpetual motion machine. If you think about it too long, you will be lost.
Right.
You'll be absolutely. Oh, it's totally. Wait, hold on a minute. That won't work. Yes, that will totally work. No, it can't possibly work.
Oh, and Trans Amber, will the Slant 6 Miata have an EGR? Well, actually, the whole thing is the motor is just to power the EGR, and the car is just so that I have a thing to move my EGR around from place to place easily. Muscle City Menace. Oh, Tony, I got a Ratty Survivor 69 Road Runner named Mr. Hyde and a YouTube channel, and it's all your fault. I'm going to bring him down soon. I'm happy to take the blame for that,
bring
my
him
brother.
To the meet and greet.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring him to the meet and greet. That'd be the perfect
And
time.
he's got a channel. So, guys, you want to see a Ratty 69 Road Runner, go check out his channel.
I might drive the View Suburban. I don't know how you would. I was on the fence, like View Bourbon. Should it be my La Bourbon? You know, I don't know what it should be. It's cool though.
Okay.
Greg McDonald says, Varkin, an EGR wouldn't exist in a top fuel car as it would melt away as vapor. That's true. And most of the time it would probably fail before it even fired up anyway.
Who's the garage says he thinks we should all run vacuum amplifiers.
My favorite thing on all those doohickeys from the 70s. You remember like when you used to open JC Whitney and it had like all the fuel economy things? You remember the one that was like the fuel atomizer or whatever? It was like it would put the molecules.
Yeah, I
in
know.
order.
I've seen all of that stuff. Yeah, line up all the molecules.
Yeah, and it's like, oh wait, they're not in line going through the orifice in the carburetor.
Pure Stress says he's looking forward to a 5-hour-long video on EGR valve.
Well, not at this garage. You're not going to. I had about 30 minutes of it, and I'm already aiming them for the trash.
Magnets on fuel lines. Yeah, they'll line molecules up. Zach Roberts says, funny we have all of this EGR talk when he's deleting his this weekend. Maybe you don't want to delete it. Maybe you need it. Maybe the EGR valve is the secret weapon we've all been looking for.
That's it. You got to have EGR valve and magnets on your gas line if you want to run the 9s these days.
Crayon Fish, any ideas for routing PCV valve?
Directly to the EGR.
Directly to us. PCV on one side, breather on the other side.
In all seriousness, there's actually, if you have a carburetor on there, there's a port directly on the carburetor. It's probably one of the only 3/8 size lines on the carburetor, right? And usually it's at the base plate.
Tommy Two-Tone, how lean can you go if your motor never sees more than 2,000 RPM?
Oh, shit, you go pretty lean.
You go pretty lean. But then again, you got to go up hills and stuff like that. I mean, you know.
Doug Narden says he wants an EGR on his EGR.
Double EGR.
Yeah. So you got a 4-wheel drive. I got a 5-wheel drive. Oh, man. Have you thought about getting rid of the oil filter on Plan Z to shed some weight?
I haven't really thought about it, but it wouldn't really be a practical thing because of the way the oil filter is built into the pump. The filter mount is built into the pump on those things. Texas Mopar. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I was going to read the same one, actually. Why is it on YouTube the guys that do Chevy channels have 2 C10s and live in a trailer, and Mopar guys have 15 A bodies, 1 B body, and a house?
I have 5 B bodies. The rest of them I have 5 B bodies, 8 A bodies, and a truck and a trailer. 7.
But you don't live in a trailer.
No, I live in a house. I guess that makes me like a typical Mopar guy. Sloppy Fistwatch says we need to run cabin air vent into the EGR. Bugler fumes make a great anti-detonant. There you go. Oh, God. James May says a lot of things are counterintuitive. I agree with that.
Yeah. It's counterintuitive for me to get a 3rd beer, but I'm going to.
Andrew Button runs his nitrous oxide into the EGR valve.
That's what nitrous oxide EGR.
Ari, you haven't missed anything except a really long and detailed discussion about EGR valves. It now has my whole head filled with EGR thoughts.
Now I'm questioning how is the Earth really flat now? You know?
No.
EGR eliminates pinging.
Wait,
Earth flat.
We have a super chat. Let's stop everything and get to the super chat. Motor swaps. Hey guys, boring machine went out this morning and ate my drive.
Oh man.
Ate my drive up there overnight budget entirely. Sorry to miss the event. Make an annual. Oh man, I'm so sorry about that. Your boring machine went out this morning and ate my drive up there. That sucks.
I see what he's saying. He was talking about coming up to the meet and greet.
Yeah, we will have more of them. This is just the first one. I'm sorry to hear your misfortune there.
Some of these guys are so freaking funny, man. James White saying, "Ooh, EGR." All right. Oh, the Earth is flat. See? Hey, where's the guy that wanted to know 409 or 396? 409 or 396.
Oh, that was another
I know. I want
lifetime
to answer
ago.
that question again. That's totally
No,
worth going back.
let's get another one. Let's get
Damn
another
it.
one.
Oh,
I do love the 409s.
I do too. I think, when the engine was built, not only based on its engineering, but also for its cosmetic looks, that's when they were the best. That's when they were really the best. I mean, they weren't the best performers. Look at the Buick Nailhead. What an anemic turd.
I just like I like that
God,
they're
they're good
freaky,
looking.
the 409s.
I think they look great with the W valve covers.
No,
Oh,
I
my God.
I mean, once you take the heads off.
The first one, with the big pop-up pistons, and either they're, what is the chamber? It's either on the piston or it's on the
piston.
head. It
The
depends
head
which
is
model
flat.
you got.
The combustion chamber is in the bore.
In the bore. That's what I meant. I'm sorry. But I remember the first one I ever found was like a 62-3 truck, something like that, right? Chevy truck. And I opened the hood and I saw those valve covers and I immediately thought 409, right? There was a 2-barrel. And this was before cameras and cell phones and all that jazz. I went home and told my dad, don't worry, son. That was just a 348, right? It's not a real 409.
John Wilburn says, after tonight, EGR is on my list of stuff that shouldn't have been invented. Well, Motorswaps, EGR, environmentalist gone rampant. Good deal on more events. Looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to them too. Fubar, that's a link to our merch. Thank you, Fubar.
The next event, how about this? You can maybe make it to this one. Slanted Nationals, September 5th, Jeffers Motorsports Park. It's on a Sunday, Labor Day weekend. It's going to be off the chain. Yes. Off the chain.
We'll be there with Plan Z.
And I think I even put on the flyer in Trudy the Burnout Chicken, right? Is Trudy going to make it? I'm
going to try to get Trudy. I got to see what kind of, if she gets broody at that time, we may have a hard time.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Right. Chickens are unpredictable.
Well, if you let her drive up there, she'll probably be fine. As long as you have enough tires to keep replacing those burnouts.
French Onion says EGR is nothing but a commie device. There's a lot of commie devices out there.
Yeah.
And there's Fubar just put the link to ahraonline.com. So you guys want to join the AHRA. The AHRA. Oh, you got a bucket blocking your last A.
Oh, well, that's probably holding the sign up.
Well, just in case they don't understand. AHRA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But go there and get yourself a membership or hit us up on eBay at AHRA Official. That's our seller name. And buy some of our merch. I got a majority of the 2021 merch up there already. I got the new hats. The
EGR is how they put shadow people in your helicopter fuel. Ooh.
That's deep.
That is deep.
The 70s were not that good to me. Okay.
Tom Hughes wants to discuss rod length.
I thought we did that one. That's the day that we knocked out the camera and all that stuff.
Yep.
We did that one not too long ago.
They're still talking about EGR valves.
I know.
They're really into the EGR valve. Oh, honey, man, the air in the EGR is hot, but cooler than combustion temperature. The EGR adds air that has to be heated up. More air equals more energy soaked up. No, but where's the oxygen? Where's the oxygen there? Varkin Good says the same people that love puppies love 409s, and I agree with that. I love puppies, and I love 409s.
I just think a 409 is a good-looking motor. I'll tell you what. The first time I ever saw one at a drag strip that I can remember. Now, I'm sure I'd seen one before, so I didn't know a 409, right? But I went to I went to the Hot Rod Reunion in Bowling Green, Kentucky in 2003. It was the first one they did. It was in 2003. I think so. Anyway, there was a car pulled up, 62, back half tube chassis looking car, right? And I'm like, it was orange. And I'm thinking, man, that's a good looking car. I just kind of wish it wasn't tube chassis and all that. That's not my bag, right? I like them when they're more factory chassis
Right.
because they leave good, especially those X-frame cars. Man, this thing, 409, had a 5-speed, Doug Nash in it. Wound that sucker. I mean, he put it on the map and dumped the clutch, 10, 11 grand. Oh, it sung. It sung good. And I know why there's songs about that sucker now. And, oh, God, did it run. But the early Hemi looks better. All those engines from that era are just good-looking engines. I'm not saying that the Hemi was ugly or whatever. 409 looked good. The nailhead Buicks look good. The Hemis look good.
They're still talking about EGR valves.
I'm trying to not talk about EGR valves. I mean, I literally have spent too much time on this already.
I mean, but they're really going at it. This is great. Rich Pelvin, what should I do to turbo my 215? 10.5 to 1 compression. Should I open up the chamber a bit to deshroud the valves?
Oh, you know what? Well, you can open the chamber up, but the easiest thing for you to do, Richard, is probably put a set of 364 300 aluminum heads on it. And they go to like a 50cc chamber. It's going to drop your compression down pretty good, but they got bigger. So, I mean, you lose a little bit of compression, but you're adding a turbo, right? Which is a compression machine, variable compression. So I would definitely go that route. The 215 head, they're all 37cc chamber. So the Rover ones, they start to get even smaller later in the years. So it's going to be hard.
Texas Mopar wants to talk about PCV now. I'd rather talk about EVAP.
You know what? I'd rather talk about exhaust gas recirculation.
What was
Not kidding. I'm bringing all this up.
What was?
Oh man! Whoa! You could have put somebody in timeout. Where's Dakota?
Well, I was wondering what the deleted comment was.
Oh.
Donovan English to Uncle Tony, do you mow your own lawn or pay the neighborhood kid $10 to do it? Actually, I got a guy that does the front and I do the backyard.
Do you really?
Yeah. Let's see.
Jacob, was it Catchmark? He's asking, ever mess with any flatheads?
Not seriously, no.
I've never messed with a flathead.
I mean, I've done work on them, like, just regular stock flatheads of all different, Fords and the Chryslers, the old floating power 6s.
This has got to go on a shirt. Gideon Wallace says turbochargers are the only exhaust gas recycling I like. Right?
It took this long for somebody to finally put a cap on it.
Hell yeah, that's the end right there. That's the best muffler invented, the best EGR valve ever invented. Oh man, 64 4-door Belvedere, 440, 727. What is PB? Is that power brakes? What's H?
I have no idea.
No, it sounds like a cool car. 64 Belvedere. That was where they still also had that kind of square roof line, right? With that where the B pillar was still tapered.
64. Yeah. Yeah.
Or actually, it's a 4-door. So
no, it would
be a C-pillar, right?
It'd be the sedan. The 4-door would have a square.
It'd be squared off.
Yeah.
Back.
Johnny X, how much power can a stock B-body axles handle? It depends on the weight of the car. Depends on how much horsepower.
Depends which axle too, right?
Well, the 8 3/4 axles are pretty beefy things.
Oh, was he asking 8 3/4?
The 8 3/4. This stock B-body. So I'm assuming he's talking about 8 3/4. Yeah, I remember something when they put the Dana 60s in those cars. In like the 4-speed Hemi cars and everything, they used 8 3/4 axles.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Hoosier's Garage. Thank you, sir. Hunting 8 3/4 tomorrow in the junkyard. I have my pick. What's less likely to have tapered axles? I want to narrow to A-body, all case styles.
He wants to find one that doesn't have tapered axles, right?
You talk about the Woodruff key on the back. You can't miss those. Those are 1964 4 and earlier.
I'm thinking tapered axles. What he's talking about is where they get smaller, right? Once it has the flange, or once you have the actual engagement point where the
the 8 3/4 were all the same diameter through there.
Where they didn't taper at all?
No, the tape. He's talking about the tapered axles on the end that has a Woodruff key on it.
Oh,
yeah, those are junk.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Where it had the weird looking drive spline deal on it.
Yeah,
at the very end of the axle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hoosier, if you could find a 65 B body, it's almost a direct bolt in to an A body. 66, 67 B body is close enough that you probably won't have to do any modifications. Just other than slotting the perches, you have to slot the perches about 3/4 of an inch on either side, just slot so that they drop onto the leaf springs. But 65 is almost a direct bolt in. 66, 67 is close enough.
So this John Brennan's saying you guys really need to talk about 67 through 67 to 72 Ford F-Series pickups, which is a subject I know absolutely zero about. I could not even wing that with the best or with the worst of them. Art Jones, what would you? Oh man, just that.
What was it?
Art Jones said, what would you suggest to wake up a 73 Buick 350? I have a Q-Jet 4-barrel intake for it, not crazy power. What factory parts would you suggest? Oh, man. 73? Actually, that 73 is not too bad. I tell you what, 73 was the year before HEI. If you wanted, you can leave the points on there, set the timing up initial 12 degrees. But what I found is the Buick 350s with the low compression, they like the HEIs because they have so much advance built into them that when you set the initial timing about 12, it gives it like a total of 38, and we're really happy with that low compression. They really like compression.
Okay. All right, they're talking about C-body axles. Cheating competing. Uncle Tony, what are the pros and cons of evac hoses from the valve covers to hood headers?
Probably talking about good headers.
Yeah, it works. It's like a super PCV valve. It's almost as good as putting a vacuum pump on the motor.
Oh, Bruce W is saying, Tony and Dallas, what makes a car fun to drive? When you hear the 170 slant 6 engine scream as you rip it through the gears, or the push in the seat from a low revving V8 or big block V8?
Both.
You could almost lose the audio as long as it has the torque, right? The rush. And it doesn't even have to have the torque. 302 Ford is not what you would call a torque monster. I mean, when that sucker goes through the gears and it gets up there to its sweet spot, about 2,500 RPM, and then it just starts freight training. I like that too.
But you see, I'm a guy, like I have a couple of completely stock Slane 6s. And I get the biggest kick out of driving them just because they kind of they purr going down the road. You know what I mean?
No, I totally get what you mean.
That soft kind of like
I'll
vibration.
give you the perfect example. If you ever were military, did you do time? No. Okay, so not time in the military. I mean, no, not prison time. But the best thing that ever came out of the military was they had the Deuce and a Half truck. And if anybody here has ever been military and they've driven a Deuce and a Half, they know what I'm going to say. The Deuce and a Half, I believe, was like a Detroit 2-stroke.
Okay.
Right? I have no clue what it was, to tell you the truth. I know it ran on 10 different fuels. You can put everything in it. Coconut juice, whatever, right? Had this funky, weird pattern shifter on it. The thing only made maybe 100 horsepower, 400 foot-pounds. It was so much fun to drive because the stack was right here by your head, and it was a 2-stroke. So it sounded like it was revving 11,000. You're grabbing another gear, right? And you might be going 3 miles an hour, 4 miles. It was just so much fun to bang the gears on that thing. But that's why I built my Ford with the 5-speed in it. It's a 351 Windsor and a 5-speed. It's so much fun to drive a stick compared to anything else. and it doesn't even have to go fast.
Olive says that there's a dude with a deuce and a half not far from me. I haven't talked to him yet, though.
They're fun to drive. The gentle vroom tick tick of a slant six. I'll tell you what, I was impressed the first time he fired up the Plan Z. God, it sounded good.
Sounds good, right?
Oh, yeah. I was impressed.
We were going to take it to the track this last Saturday, but the weather.
Oh, man, well, you should tell me. I'll haul it up there for you.
No, I got my trailer for that. I just need you to take I need you to take Bottle Rocket to the other place because they're going to take my dogs, and I got to put them in the truck.
That's May 8th, right?
May 8th, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I already called the track and even told them I was coming down. I don't know if they were going to get weird or not because I've called a couple tracks and tried to piggyback off their events. Just like, hey, I would come up and set up a booth and, oh, man, that's not cool. Okay, fine, So I always call them and give them a heads up. But that's Jake's drag strip, May the 8th, 318 Fest, right?
Joseph Giannini says deuce and a half was a turbo Cummins 6.
Was it? A turbo Cummins 6? I don't think that. It might have been. I thought it was like a two-stroker. They sound like they're revving like mad.
Anthony Cardona. Uncle Tony, if you could have one Mopar, what would it be? In Dallas, what Oldsmobile would you choose? I would have. I couldn't even. My opinion on what my favorite car changes from hour to hour, so I can't even give you an answer to that. What about you?
Oldsmobile. There's only one that sticks out in my mind as the sexiest damn Oldsmobile. 83 Hearst Olds. The black. And
Those are pretty cool. Those are cool.
I mean, the motors were anemic, but god dang, the lightning rod shifters, the paint jobs on them were slick. They looked good.
I like the Rally 350s.
Really? Oh yeah, from the like 70.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the saddest thing I ever seen. I was stationed in Hawaii, Pearl Harbor, and they had there was a small contingent base that worked for Pearl Harbor. It was a Lululemon weapons station, right? They had a little auto hobby shop, and that sucker got closed down because they demilitarized that base and they made it all civilians.
Okay.
So they closed the auto hobby shop. In the auto hobby shop, in the long-term storage, there was a W31 Oldsmobile with the scooped hood, fiberglass hood, right? And then it had the chrome rear bumper with the exhaust coming through the bumper, right? They were going to crush it. So me and the Master Chief from that, he and I hung out there at that little auto hobby shop. He's like, I'm going to get the keys from the dude that runs the place. We're going to come in here. We're going to take the parts off we can't let some of that stuff go to the crusher off that Oldsmobile, right? Because like that hood is irreplaceable.
Right.
So we go out there, and it had been sitting there so long. We try to lift the hood because it's got the locks on it, right? We take the locks loose, lift the hood. The whole fiberglass framing comes from the steel, right?
It's a shame.
And he's like, oh, shit, throw it down. We go to take the bumper off, and it's like, fuck, this piece is falling. It was like raining rust. God, man.
Well, because it was parked right off the ocean, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the cars there rust so bad. Now, if I had to pick an Oldsmobile, or a Pontiac, I'll tell you what, and I'm not a Pontiac guy. My favorite Pontiac, hands down, is probably, are you familiar with the formulas from like 1970? The Formula Firebirds, where they had the dual scooped hood, but no wing in the back.
Yeah.
Oh, God, they were good looking cars.
Nice. Those were nice. Tinkering with Poppy. Hey, guys, can you explain how a slick loses grip? I can understand a tire with tread.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
What you're doing is you have just one big tread, and you've actually overcome the gripping capacity, the friction capacity of the tire.
Yeah, I mean, and the tire might be capable, the tire size might be capable of holding the horsepower, but if the suspension isn't going to plant the tire and keep it planted, it'll break traction there too.
It's all about what the big things are, like weight transfer.
Weight transfer is everything.
And then the other one that comes to mind for me is guys always freak out about the tire width. Tire height is also something that plays a big factor in that.
I would rather have the footprint front to back than side to side.
Exactly. That's my opinion on it too.
Mr. Mr. Smith, what power levels do you think you need more than a welded axle tube in a Ford 8.8 and need a brace?
Oh,
well, the 8.8 wouldn't need a brace. The 8.8 would need to have the tubes fully welded.
That's what he's actually talking about. Like, so those tubes are so thin on those suckers that they actually bend the tube.
Oh, okay.
So they brace them from the front. There's a spot on the very front of near the pinion on the housing. It's got two little. It originally was for a balancer to keep the vibration off the pinion, right? They take that balancer off, and they use those two bolt tanks there to run a brace out to the outside, so it won't bend the axle.
Well, answer his question. At what power level?
It's actually, there's a couple of things, but I mean, if you're running a Fox body, anything, and you're getting upwards of 550, 600 horse, and the car is weighing somewhere around 3,000 pounds or more, you should have one on there.
Andrew Button says brace only for Hotchkiss on the back. Mr. Smith says, yeah, mine has the big donut thing on an Econo line. It's a conversion ran with 500 horsepower.
Plus. That's cool.
Yeah, that's heavy.
Put the brace on it.
Axle breaker.
Yeah, put the brace on that sucker. That's a lot of weight to be pulling around.
Jonathan Lawson's EGR identifies as a turbo.
Would you get a 77 Pontiac Le Mans 4-door, like the same one from Smokey and the Bandit? Hell yes, I would. Those things they were not good looking, but man, it's still a good looking car compared to today's shit boxes.
Cheesy D was on the USS Mauna Kea, AE-22 Westpac. He's talking military. I don't even.
First time at the weapons depot, I got as far as the bar. Don't know how I got back to the ship. He's probably talking about the bar out by where I lived at. That there's literally nothing there. It was out in the middle of pineapple fields, right? But yeah, Westpac is a deployment to the Western Pacific.
It's a good question. Wait. Brian Duke, any recommendations for helping with weight transfer on a 68 Dart, 270 horsepower, 360 small block, torque flight 727, and a 741 case 8 3/4? What gear do you have? I mean, before you can worry about weight transfer, you have to have gear ratio that'll allow that kind of movement to the car. You know, because the weight transfer there's no weight transfer unless there's a sudden movement to the car. So if you go like a 294 gear set or something like that, then weight transfer isn't an issue for you. So that's the first thing, because if you've got let's say you got like a 390, 410, 456 gear in that car, it's going to transfer all on its own. But that's besides the point. Loosen up the front shocks. I just drill holes in the front shocks on those things. They don't need front shocks. Just loosen up the front shocks and get the front end so that it's about even. So you want the rocker even front to back. And that'll give you that'll put the center of mass of the car high enough to try to push under the axle as you drive forward. But again, you need the hit to get the weight moving.
And I'm assuming, did those cars come with single leaves?
No.
Was it ever a thing on those cars? Because I know that was like on the Camaros and Falcons.
No, the mono leaves. Yeah, Chevys had mono leaves. No, Chrysler always had stack leaves.
Did they?
Yeah. Let's see.
Mono leaf. All right.
Do you guys, Joe Brennan, do you guys know why FEs have so many valve train issues?
Oh, I honestly don't know. They're very similar to big block Mopar and Buick. And Buicks don't have a lot of valve train issues. They got more or less block issues.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really. I mean, I could be wrong, but I can't really think of any specific FE valve train problems. All of the issues I've ever seen with FEs have to do with their oiling system.
I always ran into same thing. Oiling system, broken pistons, motors that were over revved, spun bearings.
Tom used Direct Connection used Monolith as over the counter for Challenger. Did they? I don't know. I'm not familiar with it.
Cheesy D says, did they ever make reproduction parts for C-body Chryslers? You know, there's only one C-body that sticks out in my mind.
The Hearst Chrysler.
I was actually just going to say, how'd you know?
Because that's the one. That's one everybody knows.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you ever watch that show, Phantom Works?
Yeah.
With Dan Shore?
Yeah.
They did a Hearst Chrysler
Yep.
on there.
That's what.
And man, they did an excellent job. And he was bitching about how there was no reproduction parts and how you couldn't get anything for these
That's
cars.
the biggest problem with a C body. There's, unless the part happens to interchange with an A or a B body, there's very little out there.
But God, those Hearst cars, they had to be rare. And what was it, only like 1 year only?
Yeah. Edge to sport. You need to support the two end rockers on each head because they break off at higher RPM. Buicks have the same issue.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't consider that to be, quote, valve train unless.
So on the Buicks, the way to fix that was, if you saw the video where we were going over my Super Stalker motor, and it was like make your own stuff, right? That shaft on those, on that rocker assembly, because they're all shaft rocker, just like the FE motors. The shaft is like twice as thick. And I buy them from TA Performance, which has a performance line for Buicks, but they have those hardened, thick shafts.
C bodies, Andrew Button C bodies are popular in Sweden and stuff around here. They all got crushed. That's the truth.
To tell you the truth, where I grew up, like most of them rusted out before they got crushed.
About 6 months ago, there was a '69 Fury on Marketplace for $300.
Oh wow!
Right, and it was like sold. Right, I'm just going to go get this thing. It's a two-door, right?
Let me hook it up.
Okay, yeah. So I run out there. It was 40 miles out, and I run out there as fast as I can. I get there, and he showed pictures of the car from the front, and like some from the side angles. When I got there, the whole back around the back window
rusted, gone,
missing completely. Like it wasn't there. It was just gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not even like where you say, well, okay, well, I could patch that or I could fabricate that. No, the back of the roof and everything between the like, let's say 6 inches forward of the back glass.
So I'm assuming
and the trunk was
vinyl
missing.
top car was a vinyl top.
Yeah.
They're so bad. Hey, there you go, C-body pickup. You should have put a bed in the rear.
You know something? Honestly, I thought about that, but I just didn't. I didn't want to get involved in a big crazy thing.
It was a two-door, you said, right?
Two-door.
Oh gosh. You could have cut the top off and just convertibilize it. Just make it permanent.
I thought about that too, doing a roadster out of it, but I had too many other. I got too many other irons in the fires. I had too many other.
Did it have motor tranny in it?
Yeah, it was a 318.
Oh, 318.
Yeah.
But it was a steel crank motor, huh?
Yeah.
Joe K says, are you going to start hoarding Miata parts now, minus motor parts?
Probably not. Probably not.
Yes, Challengers are pony cars. Nacho, man. Come on.
James May says, Uncle Tony, how are your metal bashing skills? My fabrication skill best be described as childish.
So I'm assuming he's saying, how are your metal bashing skills? This guy's name makes me wonder, is this James May from what used to be the...
No, that's not the James May.
It can't be. No. I don't know.
He wouldn't be...
What would that dude be wasting his time here on YouTube? Uncle Tony's Garage Wednesday night Tech Talk Live. Or we could actually just say, damn, James May appreciates our show. I wish.
Sloppy Fist. Tony, can you figure out the dwell for points on an engine the specs aren't available? What engine can't you find specs for? I mean, God, literally you find specs for like 1888 Essex. Generally speaking, 30 degrees on a V8, 40 degrees on a 6-cylinder. TX Liquid, Tony will be attending Spring Carlisle. I got to see what they got going on with the masks there. I don't go any place that you got to wear a mask. And last year they said, oh, you have to have a mask. So I'm not.
Where was that?
Carlisle.
Really?
Yeah. Sloppy fist fight. Tony, is a Toyota 4M engine straight 6?
Well, you got me.
I don't
Yes.
know. Maybe.
I'm assuming with the 4, it means it's a 4-cylinder, but I don't know.
Let's see. James E. Halloran, what was the fastest car in your neighborhood when you were in New York? Well, at times mine was. At times.
Oh, you did what? Did you grow up in Brooklyn?
Staten Island.
Oh, Staten Island. Because I was going to say Brooklyn Heavy was from Brooklyn.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And you wouldn't have had the fastest car in that neighborhood.
Well, that was
if that guy
before
was
my
alive,
time.
right?
That was before my time. No, it's talking about my neighborhood. Not the city. There was a guy named Steve Ursamano who had a car called a Sleeper, and it was a Firebird. No, it was a Camaro. It was a Fire. I don't remember what it was. It was either a Firebird or a Camaro, and he was fast. That car was fast. So a big block Chevy. He was one of the first people screwing around with nitrous. That car was really fast. Cameron Covington, have you seen the Neutral Drop guys in New York City? I watch a bunch of their videos. They're great. I'm going to hook up with them at some point.
Mr. P says, do you guys do Syracuse Nationals? I have never done any car event in New York State. And I have been through there, but what I found out is in New York, actually, as soon as you drive north from here, northeast, and you hit Pennsylvania, some dumbass installed tolls every fucking 5 miles on the road. And then it would cost me half my life savings just to get to your event.
Yeah.
So I just avoid those states completely. Even if I have to drive through Canada, which I will, to not pay those tolls, right? That's how I got to Maine. We had a track up in Maine in 2018. And I would drive through Canada. So I didn't have to pay all those stupid tolls in New England.
And generally speaking, I don't really go to events. I hit like there's a small Mopar show here in September that I go and just look for parts that I'm looking for. But I generally don't do events unless I'm there to work. If I'm there to work on something, then yeah, I'll go.
So Paul, was it Cabazola, is asking, Tony, did you ever see a 57 Chevy named Pafu that raced at E-Town?
I don't recall.
Yeah, Mr. P saying that the night scene up at the Syracuse event is insane.
Zero says VW bugs are the fastest out here, pulling the wheels off the ground. Primer tan and primer red. Yeah,
is he in
fast bugs
SoCal?
are awesome.
Is he in SoCal?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you what. I went to the drag strip in Carlsbad, California, right? And this was back in the 90s. And that's the first time I'd ever seen a bug in the quarter mile run like a 10 flat. And it was just like a regular bug. Freaking dumped the clutch, $5-6 grand, and that bug ran so hard. I've never seen a bug run like that in my life. Most of them were garbage where I grew up.
Mopar Mitch, Uncle Tony, are you going to prove Fiber and Dulcich wrong for calling you out? In what method would you like me to prove them wrong?
If they provide all the parts, we'll build a yin and a yang motor. One with pistons in, one with pistons out. Like laces out, Dan.
I stand by everything I've ever said about the reverse piston offset thing. I mean, Smokey Unick is the guy who, as far as I know, is the one who originated this. Chrysler engineers recommended it in the Direct Connection books. It's a known thing that's been done for years, and my life is too short. I've got too many things going on to enter into a pissing contest with a couple of TV guys.
Oh, Zach Roberts says I-86 runs the southern border of New York, no tolls. I did not know this.
I-86 to southern border. I-86. Oh, that's the one that goes through That's not the southern border of New York. That's the southern border of the northern part of New York. Like southern New York would be like New York City. I-86 doesn't go anywhere. I-86 goes through.
Like Buffalo and all that?
It goes through. Give me a second. 81 ties into it.
Because I went through New York a couple of times, and I went through Erie, Pennsylvania.
Right.
And they started hitting you with tolls right there at Erie, right? And as soon as you started going north, it was like, oh God, I'd have $200 in tolls by the time I showed up at the track in Maine. And then I'd have $200 in hotel rooms, and I'd have to try to overcome that. Carlsbad track had a dip. The whole track was a dip. Like the dirt road coming in, oh my God, I thought windows were going to fall out of my car.
The southern part of upstate New York, yeah.
So Logan says, have you ever done a video on compression ratio, pump gas and race gas?
I have not, but we can at some point.
Huh. I'm telling you, man, we need to get an engine dyno.
Matt Horn wants us to build a Bonneville Salt Flats car. Bro, I have trouble getting to the track that's 60 miles away. You want me to go 2,000 miles to Bonneville?
I always wanted to do that. And I'm told you, I'm down for that. But the rules are simple. We got to use a car that was engineered from the factory to run 200 miles an hour from the factory. Buick Regal, Ford Thunderbird, right? They were engineered from the factory to run 200 miles an hour. I would say Daytona, but I know that nobody's got one of those up their ass, right? So Ford Thunderbird, a much more moderate build.
Bruce W. says, are you live streaming a grand opening? Yeah, it's not a grand opening. It's just an open house. Yeah, there'll be live streams from throughout the day on that. And Big John, I've seen this question a couple of times. I finally get to it here. For autocrossing, can the early Valiant unibody be strength enough? 225 Renault Hauser with a 4-speed. Big John, I am so unfamiliar with handling on, like, the only thing I've ever in my life done with Mopar stuff is try to make it go fast in a straight line and like just daily drive it. So I really have no clue about what is needed to be done to make them, efficient autocrossers. But I'm sure somebody here in this chat can help you out with that.
Somebody's saying a belly tanker or an Aerobird. Yeah, see, I'm telling you, that's the way to go. We can get a Thunderbird, like an 88 Thunderbird, like my race car. Maybe we just take my race car.
Well, that's fine.
Go to Bonneville. I'll put 255s in it, take the 390s out. We'll see if it'll hit 200.
I'm done. I'm down with that. I mean, but you gotta, and then like, we'll cross those bridges when we get to them.
I don't know. I just think it'd be neat to do something like that. Like I told you, I always had those weird ideas where it was like, you're never going to set a new record at Bonneville. You don't have enough money, right? But you go out there and you do a 200-mile-an-hour club, and you make pass after pass, and you put like 20 dudes in the 200-mile-an-hour club that day.
That could be cool.
And you just spray it till the rods come out.
Craig Ritchie wants to hear our take on electric cars and drag racing.
I don't have a problem with them. I actually was really promoting it because, in all honesty, anything that rolls or goes fast, I kind of like.
Right.
Now, it not having any noise really weirds me out seeing them, but it's no different than me seeing, like, have you ever been to the track and seen those snowmobiles that are built for drag racing? What a weird thing to see going on the track the first time. After 2 or 3 of them, pretty much norm. Right?
Yeah. Same
thing with the electric stuff. I've had 3 so far. But somebody's asking how many beers. I've actually had a concept where I've come up with an idea where we can fix something that ails America doing this, right? So, and this may sound stupid because I'm giving away probably the best kept secret I've had from day one doing the AHRA.
Okay.
But I came up with that. Are you familiar with Junior Dragster?
Sure.
Okay, the Junior Dragster, I'm sorry if you're a Junior Dragster racer, that program's ruined. Ruined. Originally, it came out to be a go-kart type of concept.
Stop. Go no further. I was there in the shop with Vinny Knapp when he built the 2 very first junior dragsters for his kids.
Uh-huh.
I was there in the shop helping Vinny build those 2 because he had at the top end of Englishtown on the right side, right next to the finish line, was the shop for the track.
Oh, all right.
They maintained all their equipment and everything. And Vinny Knapp built 2 dragsters, 2 little miniature dragsters for his kids.
Right.
I was there when those 2 cars were built.
Well, the whole concept was supposed to be a kid having a paper route, be able to afford it, and just go out and have fun.
It wasn't even that. He had no intention of it becoming a thing.
Right.
He was just building these things with Briggs and Stratton 5 horsepower snowblower motors on them just so the kids could go down the track.
Well, now it's $15,000 to have a competitive one. It's $15,000. World, you've gone insane on a kid's go-kart. So I came up with the idea. I came up with a really cool idea, actually. Let's change junior dragsters to something else, and we'll make them electric. And then we'll run them inside at all these malls that are empty around the United States.
That's not a bad idea.
Right? Then you don't have to worry about weather. You can race 24/7, 365, every day of the week, however you wanted. And you can race all day long. And you charge them up in the place, and you just have fun with it, right? But what you do is you build a strict, these are the guidelines, these are the rules class, right? And you don't let anybody outside those rules because they'll run away with it. And the money will just be absurd, right? But what you do is you keep it cost effective and you keep it enjoyable and you throw it at all these malls that are just getting torn down for the sake of having the land back. I think it's a great idea. If you got piles of money and you're interested in doing something like that, give me a call. My email is dallas@ahraonline.com.
The key word there is piles of money.
Yeah, that's what it's going to take. I mean, you got to buy a mall for the love of God. I mean, how much is that going to be? So you got to have some money to get the thing going. But I'm pretty sure we could decimate the NHRA, the IHRA, all of them with just that program. Because you name any other drag strip in the world that could run 24/7, 365.
As far as I'm concerned, I mean, an electric car is just another way to power a car. So as far as electric cars and drag racing, yeah, I mean, why not? An idea that I've always had that I would love to, if I don't do it, I'll never do it myself. I'll never get it done myself, but I'd love to help somebody or work with somebody who wants to do it, is I've always had this thought, and this goes way back before there was any type of electric. Actually, I got the idea from E.J. Powder's electric car when I was a little kid. But what I always thought would be a cool thing was to mount,
had an electric car
with an extension cord, a 1/4 mile long extension cord.
No way.
Yeah,
that dude was so cool.
Yeah. So, but anyway, what I always wanted to do, and I don't know why nobody's done this yet, unless it's just not doable. But if you remember the Turbo Neat, they had the drag axle. What I was thinking about doing was mounting. You probably have to use like a 9-inch Ford because it's got the mounting flange on the front. But mount an electric motor in between the transmission, conventional transmission and the rear end. Mount the electric motor to the rear end, and then have a bank of capacitors in the trunk. Okay.
Oh, so this discharge it off the hit.
Yeah. So when you hit it, that bank of capacitors just throws 100% of whatever it's got into that electric motor. That shit will get you off the line.
Oh yeah, it's instant torque. That's what makes them so fast.
Yeah.
Right? Is that instant torque.
Now, I mean, granted, you'd have to turn the motor for the rest of the trip because the capacitors are only going to last for,
10 feet. It's a capacitor.
Probably 100 feet because you're going. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So you've covered some ground. You'd have to drag it along for the rest of the ride, but I would think that it would be pretty intense.
You're talking about a hybrid. You know what? We could call it the hybrid drag car. Make it out of Plan Z. Is it got an 8 3/4 in Plan Z?
No, Plan Z's got a 7 1/4.
7 1/4. Yeah, it'd have to have a robust rear end to handle all that torque from that electric motor. Because here's what's so neat. When you go look at the electric motors, they'll make let's say 400 foot-pounds of torque, right? At 1 RPM. One. Right. It's not even 1 RPM.
When's the bar fight? Good question.
Oh. Oh, is that because I've been drinking?
Probably.
I don't know. Oh, man. Oh, it's not going to happen. Oh.
Capacitor explosions are epic.
That they are.
They are.
Did I ever tell you, like, my introduction? Did I tell you I worked on electronic stuff in the Navy?
I think you mentioned that.
Okay, I used to work on this thing. They called it it was called the Quad 7, right? It was a power supply for the sonar. So think of a sonar system like a giant speaker,
I know what sonar
an
is.
amplifier, right? Well, on a ship, you actually had to have something to generate the power to run this thing.
Okay.
So it was all DC power. So I worked in this power supply. It made 3,375 amps at 80 volts DC, right?
Wow.
And the precursor to it was
how many amps did it make?
3,375.
That should light you up.
They would call it. It was the bolt of lightning, right? So the precursor to it was a motor generator. Have you ever heard of one of those? It's a motor turning the generator.
Yeah.
Okay. My very first week of Navy, what they call C school, where they teach you to work on this electronics, right? They took us to this ship and they took us down to the motor generator room. And you're standing, like, this thing's water-cooled motor generator. Who came up with that idea? Genius, right?
Okay.
Like, you're standing in pools of salt water that are dripping off this motor, right? And condensate and all this stuff. And this guy takes a shorting probe and he says, hey, kill the lights. This is what you guys are going to be working on. And he takes his shorting probe and runs it down the side of this motor generator.
Right.
And throws this fucking lightning bolt in the air about 20 feet. And this kid pisses his pants and runs up the ladder out of space. He's so scared, right? But, that stuff just freaks me out, man. I mean, I can do electrical stuff, but when the current level gets up so high, firing order swaps, I think they work. Nobody's proven any horsepower gain, but the motor sounds better. It always sounds, it has a different tone to it.
What was I going to say? I don't even remember what I was going to say. Monster Garage, electric cars are garbage. Tesla is laughing.
Oh, Wheels and Tires says I took a zap from a magnetron on an SPS, which is a radar in A school. Failed that lab date. I'm sure he did if he got shocked.
Let's see. Tony, why simple classic cars are going lunatic high cost? For example, an El Camino Chevrolet. Because they're valuable, they're survivable, they're rebuildable, they have class, they have charisma, they have charm, they have a personality. You can work on them, they're fun. That's why, and they're not going to go back down.
And people have figured it out.
Yes, people finally figured it out.
Yeah, they're tired of getting the wool pulled over their eyes with all the lampadine new stuff. That when you got to go in for a set of injectors for your new LT1, it's what? I don't know, $2,800.
You're going to see all of these mega junkyards that are filled with like the ones out west, right? The Desert Valley and all of those.
Right.
You're going to see those. Anything that's even remotely buildable is going to get pulled out.
I can agree with that. I believe that to be 100% true. Especially I tell you what, I love my Suburban so much because I can pull up at the gas pump. I put 87 in it. It holds 40 gallons of gas. Yeah, it doesn't get the greatest mileage, but man.
Hoosier wants you to take a field sobriety test.
I'm not that bad. I'm on number 4 right now. I'm just getting wound up and having fun.
Bad Tree. He just picked up an 86 D50. Ooh, going to stuff a 360 in it. That sounds like fun.
Isn't that the little Mitsubishi?
Yeah, the little one, yeah. James May, real talk, Uncle Tony. Make us some heat gun coffee beans and market it. I had that down to an absolute science. I had it perfect. I had a while to put that all back together again because it was a pretty elaborate deal. But I had that down.
I bought an 05 Sting GT off of a dude who was on USS Vincennes. He did electronics too. He was fired up when I sent him pics of the new stepper motors going into the gauge clusters. I don't know him, honestly, unless, I mean, if you had a name, I might have known him. I mean, I was on there 3 years. Hideaway headlights. I think that is something that needs to come back. You know, just like you had the Nader bumpers come out in 73, right?
Yeah.
What about the unnader bumpers? Is there a such thing? Can there be?
Yeah, guys with, I know how to do it with other cars, but guys with the Mopars just use earlier bumper brackets.
Right, they'd take those 73s off and put the 72 previous on, right? Joel. I don't know.
R2, my dog. Do you have any experience with roller camshafts and small block 340s? Well, yeah.
I love my Nader bumpers. Really? I'll tell you what. If you have much about the 4.1 liter Buick motors, I do know some stuff. I mean, they're virtually the same as all the small block Buicks, except for they have a larger bore. 400 cycle, yes, 400 cycle for like a fire control stuff.
1960s Mercury Vinny LC. The 1960s Mercury Cougar had the best hideaway of all time. No. I was the same as the Charger. Yeah, the clamshells on the Buick Riviera were the best.
Now, Cougars did look good though.
Oh, they're beautiful cars, but I would say that the Buicks got the award.
That's the best ones, yeah. And I hate myself for like never buying one when they were cheap. You know, that like 1990s, you could get them for peanuts. 63, 64, 65.
Warren Hinton, when rebuilding an engine, 66 Fairlane with a 390 in my situation, how often do you find you need to replace the rotating assembly? Feasible to just replace rings and bearings? Yeah, if the cylinder bores are okay. And I mean, yeah. How often?
For me, rotating assembly is crank rods and pistons.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you probably don't have to replace those.
Yeah, as long as you keep up on maintenance, use a decent oil, the motor doesn't run pig fat or lean where it's detonating and stuff like that. There's no number, there's no limit to the kind of mileage you can put on it.
Whoa. Question for the UTG team. Well, we're not. He's Uncle Tony's garage. I'm just Dallas. If it was ever done in a safe way, do you think that a legit gunpowder injection system could be used in a race car or street car?
I don't know what that would.
I'm thinking like gunpowder, like think of it like replacing your spark plugs, maybe. You know how like the old tractors used to start with the gunpowder?
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, but I don't see I don't see the application for that in a race car.
I don't think it would work well at all. And I definitely don't think you could do it more than just 8 cylinders worth. Or however many cylinders you have.
I mean, how you'd only get one shot at it. Poof. I mean, you'd have to reload.
That's a good deal.
Mark, 5483. I just bought a 76 New Yorker 440 car for $900. Do you know what the oil dummy light is set at? Flickers when warm, not worried if it is set at PSI or 7. It's set at 7 PSI. And that's what it's supposed to be. Some of them will go on at 5, some will go on at 9, but it's supposed to be 7 PSI.
In other words, start looking at main bearings or run a thicker oil.
No. Yeah, you can throw a thicker oil in there, but I have driven those things thousands of miles with that flickering oil light. Don't worry about it.
If it's a slant, you don't worry about it. If it's a big block,
no, 440s are fine.
Really?
They're fine.
Are they like the Buicks? Are they really like the Buicks in that?
What you could do is shim the bypass a little bit. You know, if you look at the back of the oil pump, okay, there's a spring.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
Is the big block Mopar got an external oil pump?
It's got an external, yeah.
Does the housing come off and you can access the gears from the outside?
Yes.
Okay. Is the housing aluminum?
No.
It's cast iron.
Yes.
All right. So here's normally what happens to the Buicks. Inside the housing, it's aluminum. And they'll wear the inside of that housing because some crap will come through there, right? And it'll go through the pump. And it'll mar the housing. But it also mars the face of the wear plate where those gears are at. And when it does that, it loses oil pressure over time.
Mm-hmm.
If he was to pull that face off, and then what you do is you verify it's got 2,000ths clearance, right? You don't really want more than that because the more that you have, the lower the oil pressure you're going to have, right? But get 2,000ths clearance on it and get a clean new wear face. You can probably buy a replacement housing that goes on that, right? And then it'll bring the oil pressure back up. It should.
I wouldn't even really worry about that. Honestly, if it's idling in gear and the light's flickering, if you're not getting lifter noise, if there's enough oil flowing through the motor to keep the lifters happy, don't worry about it. Bruce W wants to know what your wife is baking tonight. The cookies are great, by the way.
Yeah, you had some?
Yeah, I had one when I went home.
Oh, she's not baking anything tonight. She's probably just baking up something to chew my butt about inside, but I don't know. Honestly, the last thing she baked was those cookies. I don't think she'll bake anything tonight. She just sometimes, every now and then, has got to prove herself, and she does that. She really wants to open a restaurant, but I'm not hammered at all.
Craig Ritchie just bought a 72 MG midget for his wife. What are some fun ideas for small engine swaps for a micro car? I would leave it alone, man. Those things are so much fun just the way they are. Martin, thank you, sir. Okay, Tony, back in the day, I always heard Mopar guys talk about slick shifting their Hemi 4-speed. What does that mean? Are they doing something to synchros? You're grinding every other tooth off. So you take the synchro and you grind every other tooth off. And you can, with it done like that, with some force, you can shift it. Yeah, you could bang it into the next gear without clutching. But it doesn't really hurt anything. It just makes the tranny a little notchy for regular driving.
And you got to bang it, and then you got to hold it in gear usually.
No.
Oh, well, I thought, okay. So
not a slick shifted trans.
A dog box is not the same?
Mm. No, a dog box, you're talking about like they're using a roundy cars?
Well, I'm just talking about they have multiple names for the thing, but it's like I've heard slick shifted, I've heard dog box, I've heard crash box.
Well, crash box and slick shift is the same thing.
Okay. And
they call it that because when you bang a gear with it, it crashes into the next gear. I mean, it's a violent thing when you get it right. Let's see.
Mark Shaw says, when I shifted my Challenger, made a loud bang. I was so scared that I pulled over. It was the exhaust hanger breaking and the pipe hitting the ladder bars.
Tyler P. Tony, would you ever consider selling a book of your knowledge if YouTube were ever to fail? A budget hot rodding Bible, your huge amount of old school, hell no how it's getting hard. If YouTube fails, I'm in a heap of trouble, boy. I don't know. I don't know. I hate writing. I did it for so many years. I dread the idea of doing it.
John Branch is asking, which is better, 331 or 347 small block Ford? And I know which one I like.
I don't really have an opinion on that.
Excuse me, 331 small block Ford guaranteed. That's my favorite. It's that same board stroke as 327 Chevy.
If YouTube fails, move to D Live. I don't think YouTube's going to fail. We got YouTube. YouTube.
What's D Live? Is that another thing like YouTube?
We're working on different projects to expand the scope of what we do. Not necessarily this channel, but UTG. We're working we're working on some projects that are very unlike the stuff that we do on this channel.
Ramble content saying, what happened to Dodge cars in the 80s, like the Dodge Charger? Well, so based on the history of Mopar, didn't that around the time they got saved, where Lee Iacocca showed
Yeah,
up?
Chrysler made a deal with the devil. They took the bailout money and agreed to build a fleet of fuel efficient cars. So everything was based off the K car, and right. But yeah, that was pretty much it. That was the thing.
And that's what happened to them. And it was just that simple. And then in '87, the emissions standards got tighter on the trucks. And that's when the trucks changed from the standard. They ran all the way up to like 2002 with the 360 and 318 and all that stuff, right? But isn't that when carbureted trucks, everything went to the back lot, and it was all fuel injected from that point forward? Maybe. I don't know. 87 was the last year of the authentic Dodge truck.
Yes. Oh, it's mostly old parts. That's Ron Ward. That's the guy with the 69 Ratty Roadrunner. Mostly old parts. The new Mopar channel. He's doing all Mopar stuff. So go over there and check him out and give him a subscribe and ring the bell. Ring the bell. Do whatever you do. Like, subscribe, share, the whole 10 yards. Mostly old parts.
Huh. He used to be Ron Ward. It sounds familiar. He was an announcer, or
Ron Ward was an announcer. Yeah.
Okay.
Still is.
Still is, huh?
Ralph Thomas. If 9 inches is so bad, why did all the top dragsters of funny cars use them exclusively? Who said the 9-inch was bad?
They're not bad, and they don't use them exclusively anymore. They use a 10-inch now.
Oh, they're past that. I was there during that evolution from the 9-inch Ford to the 10-inch Chryslers.
Huh.
That was an expensive proposition at the time. I ran 9-inch Fords in the field cars for. I mean, I can't tell you how many 9-inch Fords I went through.
Is Kiwi coming to the open day?
I have no idea.
Tell me these drinks a Spite's beer for us Kiwis.
Vinny, you'll see they are to 11.5 now. Oh, the rear ends. Yeah, I believe that.
Oh, 11.5? That's what they're up to?
Yeah. It was a 10-inch. It was Christmas made the rear. It was a top loader, 10-inch ring gear. That was an expensive upgrade back then, boy.
No, I never raced in the NMCA Nostalgia Superstock class. Matter of fact, I didn't race hardly at all from the day I joined the United States Navy in 1994 all the way until I retired in 2017. The last 2 years there, I hit it pretty hard. But before that, every weekend I was at our local drag strip. That was what I liked. But because of that, it actually gave me the opportunity to see the major difference between how racing was in 1993-4 till today, where it was like, what in the world happened? Why does everybody have electronics, and what's all these 2-steps and what's all this crap? But
Alexander Labs. Tony, have you seen the kits to run for a 8.8 IRS from the Explorer and the Miata? I've seen that, but I don't think I'm going to need anything even remotely that strong.
Well, if we can find a Super Coupe center section, that's what you need. That's a supercharged 6-cylinder.
But I don't think I need that kind of power or that kind of
No,
strength.
it come with a 373 gear, and I'm sure you've got like a 430.
I got a 430. Yeah, that's a little crazy. But I would rather if I just get the later one, it's direct bolt in. You know what I mean? I can get one out of Miata guys sell these things. Complete rear. Rear's ready to go. $150, $200.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do they have ones with not a 430 gear in them?
Yeah. Later on, they went to 410s and then 360s. There's 410s, 390s, and 360s were factory available.
Huh. All right. Well, I'm showing my ignorance on the Miata, which is like a whole bunch, because I don't know Miatas. I've never known anything about a Miata. I just kind of always wondered can you do like the vet cart thing out of a Miata?
No. No, the whole body on the car weighs about 75 pounds.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
It's super duper light.
Super duper light. Vinny LC, I have a Dana 60 and 1937 Fiat Altered, but people keep telling me to swap to a 9-inch, and I have never run the 60 before. Is there any cons to this rear? To the Dana 60? No. The Dana 60 is a beautiful rear.
It's unbreakable.
The only advantage that the 9-inch has over the Dana 60 is that it's easy to swap gears. With the 9-inch, with the Dana 60, I mean, even just getting the carrier out. They actually sell a case spreader. To open up, spread the case so you can pull the gears in and out.
Give it 2000s, huh?
Yeah, when I've set them up, I just when I put them back together again, I set them up so I can actually slip it in and out. You know what I mean? I don't want that. But
Case spreader.
No, seriously.
Oh, I believe you. I've seen them. I just find it funny that, man, that is probably the best muscle car rear end, the Dana 60. It ended up in so many modified cars. You remember the modified production cars where you're standing on them with the small cubic inch motors, right? There was so many of them cars ended up with Dana 60s. And it was because that rear end would take such abuse.
Fubar put the link to my merch there. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
And we never talk about that enough.
What's that?
Your merch.
I don't want to talk about it now. John Wilburn dares you to say aluminum siding.
Aluminum siding?
He fucked up the first time.
Does everyone think I'm wrecked?
They're just watching you down those things one after the other, and they figured, well, there's got to be some kind of side effect.
Last time we were out here, I did 3. I was already hammered when he showed up, and that was only because I had just finished the last 455. I am planning on doing for a while. I've been working on them suckers for a whole year.
James, well, like the 7 1/4 is the same way you got to have a spreader. That's not true. I can't tell you how many 7 1/4 I've gone through and never used a spreader. All right. Ramble content says say Sunshine City real fast.
Sunshine City real fast.
There you did it.
If you drink beers. Well, he's saying if you drink enough beers, you'll be thinking about putting a Buick in a Swinger.
Zero's a bar manager and says you're good.
Yeah.
He's keeping an eye on you.
I'm
Zero is everywhere.
Oh.
Zero is everywhere.
He's a bar manager. Yep. He's the moderator. He's just a straight up dude. Keeps things on the level.
But listen, we're way past 2 hours.
Oh,
now.
Dang, yeah, we got to call it an evening.
Yeah, I seriously gotta get home.
Yeah, that's fine.
Try the day out with an old torsion bar. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. When I put them back, you always got to wrestle them out. When I put them back together, and I'll take like 2000s off the shims and stick it back in, and I just in and out. And I've never had any negative effects to that.
Bruce W is wanting to know if I have any engines to start up there tonight. I'm like, no. The last one's gone. The next one on the stand, might be the 215, just so people can hear it run when they come to pick it up to buy it. And I think that might be the next one.
All right. The awesome mods that keep this channel moving smoothly. Fubar, John Wilburn, Zero, Ari. These guys are awesome. As always, thank you for your service. They've been with me for so long. These guys have been moderating my channel for about a year now.
Well, did you know that as soon as we started, there was one guy who was like, "Hey, how you guys doing?" And then bang, all the moderators came in.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So they're on it.
They're awesome. I'm telling you, it's like their efforts that make me really want to do. You know what I'm saying? It's like because it's a team thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
I feel like we're all together in this. But yeah. So anyway, guys. Everybody who contributed to Super Chat, thank you so much. It keeps the bills paid, keeps everything moving forward. Everybody contributed to the conversation, even the EGR stuff. I learned something about the EGR thing. Now I'm questioning EGRs. So I'm going to go home, and now
we got to dyno some EGR stuff.
I'm going to fall asleep tonight looking at EGR. Thank you so much. And
what's that?
Our connection is unstable. Please wait.
I think we're done.
No, okay, we're back, but we're going. So that's it, guys. Good night, everybody, and we'll see you Sunday night. Oh, ahraonline.com for him, UncleTony'sGarage.com for our merch, and we'll see you
Sunday night.
Well, Saturday we'll be doing some live feed from the shop, for the open house, and Sunday Night Live 7:00 as always. So again, thank you everybody, and good night.
This is their said EGR for life.
EGR for life. We got to make EGR gang symbols, gang signs, EGR valve shape.